9th at 6:30 p.m. in the Germantown Village Hall boardroom. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with Wisconsin Statute Sections 19.83 and 19.84 in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for discussion and action. Roll call shows all commissioners present except for Mr. Nilles and Mr. Williams, both who are excused. At this time, we'll open the floor up for public input and public appearance. If anyone is in the audience, I'd like to come forward for public input or public appearance for any item other than what is on the agenda tonight for a public hearing. If you are here to talk to or against the public hearing, I would ask you wait until that time on the agenda in which we are doing the public hearing. But if there is anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward and bring anything before this body in regards to public input or public appearance, you're welcome to do so. All I would ask is you come to the podium and state your name and your address for the record. Is there anyone wishing to come forward for public input or public appearance? Seeing there are no one, we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the approval of minutes from the February 24th, 2020 Plan Commission meeting.
Make a motion to approve the February 24th minutes.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. 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 Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. That then takes us to new business. We start with new business item A, which is Viridian Homes LLC, Agent 4, Germantown School District, which is the property owner, which is located at North 104, West 14942, Donges Bay Road. It is a rezoning application from A2 Agricultural to RS4 Single Family Residential Zoning District for a 16-lot residential development. To give us some more information and background on this rezoning application, I'll turn the meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzloff. Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. President. Brief history. Back in December of 2018, the Plan Commission and Village Board considered a proposal by Viridian Homes for the school district property and eventually approved a land use plan map amendment to change the land use plan classification of this property from park and recreation to low-density residential. And the board also approved a rezoning from the A2 Ag to the RS6 single-family residential zoning district with a concept plan for 30 lots. In January of 2019, the Village Board reconsidered the rezoning approval and overturned their approval decision, sending the proposal back to the Plan Commission to reevaluate the plan for consistency with the surrounding neighborhoods and not as dense as RS6. In April 2019, the proposal was changed to a rezoning to RS5 with a planned development district overlay and a concept plan for 27 lots. The Plan Commission and Village Board, after consideration, tabled action directing the developer to revise the plan to effectively match the adjacent neighborhoods. In August of 2019, a revised proposal was submitted to rezone the property to RS5 without a planned development district overlay and a revised concept plan for 24 lots. The Plan Commission recommended approval and subsequently the Village Board tabled action pending a determination of a valid protest petition that had been submitted and also to ensure action was ultimately taken by a full Village Board. We had a couple of members who were absent at that time. In September of 2019, the Village Board did take action and they voted against the proposed RS5 rezoning and 24-lot proposal on a vote of 6-2, notwithstanding the valid protest petition that had been received. The subject property is 14.7 acres. It is currently zoned A2 agricultural. It is surrounded to the north by the Kinderberg Park, and north of that, the preserve, zoned RS4. Heritage Hills to the east, a residential subdivision zoned RS4 with a planned development district overlay. And to the south, Windsong and the Sunbury Downs subdivisions, both zoned RS5. The current proposal is for 16 single-family lots with an RS4 rezoning proposal. The density is 1.09 dwelling units per acre on a gross and a 1.21 dwelling units net of the property. The lot size averages just over 27,000 square feet with a range of 20,858 square feet to 36,280 square feet. Proposal includes one pedestrian trail connecting the end of the cul-de-sac to the Donjas Bay Road multi-purpose trail. A landscape buffer is shown along the Preserve Parkway adjacent to the two lots closest to the Preserve Parkway, and there's also a water main extension or looping to Heritage Hills that will be required as part of the development should it move forward. The proposal is consistent with the 2020 land use plan map and the low-density residential classification. As has been discussed in the past, there are a series of 5 small wetlands on the property. The developer has obtained permission from the DNR to fill 4 of the small wetlands. Wetland number 1, located in the southwest corner closest to Preserve Parkway, will be preserved, and that the size of that wetland is just under 4,500 square feet. It will be included in an open space outlot as shown on the concept plan. In terms of staff comments, as has been discussed in the past with previous proposals, staff is requiring or requesting that additional landscaping and buffering be provided essentially around the perimeter of the lots on the north side, on the west, in the open space, and along the south, as shown on the concept plan. That landscaping plan would be required at the time the preliminary plat is submitted for review. And one last issue with this new proposal, we do have just one cul-de-sac that comes into the project. The length of that cul-de-sac is approximately 775 feet. The subdivision code for the village generally requires cul-de-sacs not to exceed a length of 500 feet. Those are generally accepted without question. Cul-de-sacs between 500 and 1,200 feet may be allowed after consideration of zoning, lot size, number of lots served, and the number of other road connections that may be provided to serve the subdivision. In this case, the developer is proposing that a pedestrian path also serve a dual purpose as an emergency access path to Donjas Bay Road from the end of the cul-de-sac. And as such, staff is requesting that the fire department review that, the geometric and the design for that at the time the construction plans are submitted to ensure that that path, emergency access, can support the weight of an emergency vehicle. Just as an aside, the length of cul-de-sacs is commonly an issue with our residential developments in the village. A number of developments have cul-de-sacs that exceed the 500-foot length. As an example, Starlight Subdivision, the Venus Court, if you're familiar with that area, it's over 600 feet, serves 14 single-family lots. Treetops, the Stillwater and Woodcrest Courts, the combination, the nesting, if you will, of the cul-de-sacs is about 1,200 feet with serving 26 lots. The Forest Heights Subdivision with Crestview Drive, 1,135 feet serving 17 lots. Berrywood, the Gateway Place and Berrywood Lane cul-de-sac combinations are about 1,200 feet in length serving 21 lots. Blackstone Creek, the Augusta Court, over 1,000 feet serving 29 lots. And most recently, the Harvest Hills, the Taylor Court, 650 feet serving 7 lots. And the Woodland Ponds Estates subdivision, our most recent subdivision approved with a Forest Hill Road, has a cul-de-sac length of 995 feet serving 14 lots. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the proposed rezoning to RS4, single family with a 16-lot concept plan as proposed on the January 31, 2020 concept plan, subject to a total of 5 conditions that are outlined in the staff report.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before I open up this public hearing, this particular property has been before us several times with multiple public hearings. those that wish to come forward tonight, I would hope that you would have comments in regards to this proposal. Planner Retzloff has gone through the history and the different types of offerings that were made on this property, so everyone is aware of what's been already stated and brought forward on here. So anybody that is coming forward to speak for or against this zoning permit, I would ask that you would hold your comments to this proposal. I'm not looking to go back on previous proposals. Those have failed. This is the one that's before us tonight. This is the one that we want to hear comments for or against for this particular commission, and probably also for those that are on the village board. I would also wish that those that are here and those that want to make comments are residents of Germantown. They'll be considered first and foremost. Those that want to make comments in regards to or against Viridian will not be considered as much, because we're not here to discuss the positive or negative aspects of Viridian as a company. We're here to discuss and hear a public hearing on this proposal for a zoning change. And that's it, a zoning change. Not commentary, not opinions, not discussion on what's happened previously about the school board or Viridian Homes. We're here to talk about this property for an RS4 zoning change. So at this time then, I will ask and open the public hearing by hereby stating, a notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located on Mequon Road in Germantown on Monday, March 9th at 6:30 p.m. The purpose of said hearing is to hear any and all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the applications filed to rezone the property described below from the A2 Agricultural Zoning District to the RS4 Single Family Residential Zoning District pursuant to Section 17.17 of the Municipal Code. The applicant is Viridian Homes LLC, agent for the Germantown School District, who is the property owner, and the property is located at North 104 West 14942 Donges Bay Road, south of and adjacent to Kinderberg Park. At this time, if there's anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against, you're welcome to do so. I will ask that you state your name and your address for the record. Anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against the zoning application or the rezoning application is welcome to come forward. Thank you, Dave.
Dave Shornak, I live on Preserve Parkway, W151N10798. I thought I'd break the ice. I'll be the first one up here. That way I won't have to wait for everybody else. I guess I'm one that I'm surprised. I'm not against the subdivision here, but I'm a little surprised. I always thought that parcel of land was basically all wetland. So when I found out that there was just 5 smaller pieces, I was kind of taken back, because I always thought to myself, well, it's not going to be, developed. If it is going to be developed, I will say this: I am very glad that the Plan Commission, and I think this happened with a lot of the neighbors coming up, I'm glad that it went to an RS4. So living in the Preserve subdivision, we're RS4. I thought, hey, that should really be the same. It really shouldn't be any different. The other thing I am glad about, if this is going to be a subdivision, that it's 16 lots. I think, and I can't remember if it started out as 24 lots or what it was, but it was far, far, far too many. They were trying to get smaller lots in a relatively small area. This way, where there are 16 lots, they're a little bit over a half an acre a lot. At least that's fairly consistent with the subdivision that I live in. So I would thank the Plan Commission for doing that. But especially, I just wanted to comment, if it's going to be rezoned, RS4 definitely should be what it should be rezoned to, nothing less. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else wishing to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jan Miller. I live at W151 and 10297 Windsong Circle West. And I am here to speak against the RS4 zoning by Viridian. I'm very disappointed in some of the things that have been going on, and I'm not going to regress, but to me there seems to be a lack of communication. Mr. Retzloff said tonight that there are 5 things that have to be addressed with this RS4 proposal. Is that right, Mr. Retzloff? 5 conditions of approval. So the plan as it is that we've seen tonight has a cul-de-sac that's too long. Neither one of the subdivisions that are surrounding the parkland have cul-de-sacs that are longer. I mean, let's keep it real. So I did my own investigation. It seems like the communication between the Planning Commission, the Village Board, the School Board, and Viridian is much lacking. So I personally met with some of the groups, and I had other people meet with them. I've met with Dean and David, and I've met with Viridian Homes, and I've met with Bob Soderberg, and I've met with Lester Spies. These are all people on all committees. And I made an announcement at the school board meeting, let's get together and make this a community event like the 2020 land use plan says. The land use plan says that the land south of Kinderberg Park is indeed parkland. In 1995, when there was a land swap, the parkland was supposed to be either a park or a school. The school was voted down. So Viridian has been unsuccessful at coming up with a plan that is suitable for the village board. It hasn't, the plan commission, nothing has passed. What we're looking for is something that is congruent with other things, but more so, we're looking for land, green space. All of the new subdivisions that are on the docket have some green space, or most of them. So why are we trying to fit homes into a wetland? That's a great question. So I met with the school board and I said, why don't we think outside the box? Bob Soderberg said, well, we actually did a ecology center at Mashman, and it's right across the street from Amy Bell, is that right? And I think that we are at about 250 plus homes, Mr. Retzloff, that are being ready to be built in the Germantown area. Would you say that's approximately right? 250, yes. So the school board's adage that they need money for their budget isn't lasting. Mr. Loth said to me that when they put the land up for sale, they actually needed the money, and now that there's so many homes, they should be okay. So why are we talking about this? Viridian Homes put in a property, the opportunity for, and an offer for the property for $690,000. The price has been reduced to $150,000. Where do you go to get 14.7 acres for $150,000? I want a piece of that.
Ms. Miller,
I'll wrap it up.
What about the actual zoning itself? What do you like or not like about it?
What I don't like about it is, again, it's fitting in, it's trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. You have to make 5 exceptions. It's not right.
No, there are 5 conditions that the developer must meet in order for the development to be acceptable as proposed. Those are conditions that is a normal process that the village planner does for any development that comes through, and most of it is in regards to landscape buffering, street trees, another detailed landscaping and buffer plan to protect the housing that are surrounding, an emergency access path between the 2 lots, and then a subdivision plat development agreement. None of those are conditions that warrant anything that any other development that comes forward to Germantown doesn't have upon them.
So this is their 4th attempt, and they should know this, right?
This is the 4th time they've come forward based on the recommendations and what they've heard from the board to match the surrounding neighborhoods. Yes, you are correct. It is their 4th attempt.
Well, my point is, the 2020 land use plan said it was a parkland. You are the planning commission. If we don't keep it a parkland, then why do we have a planning commission?
This particular commission and the village board voted to change the land use to residential as an accepted use and change the land use plan to accommodate that. So that land use from what was on the 2020 plan has already been voted upon to be changed.
And what is going to happen with the 2050 plan?
As it stands right now, it would, depending on the outcome of this particular proposal, it could be kept as residential, or it could be left as institutional, or it could be left as open space. It could be one of anything. It's all part of the discussion of the 2050 plan.
Well, I think you had an excellent idea, Dean, in the 2050 Planning Commission meeting. There are a lot of wetlands in the northeast corner of Germantown, and putting boardwalks around green wetlands should be something that we should go for.
We should look at. And I don't mean to cut you off, but I do.
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you for
So
coming forward.
my wish is that you all deny the Viridian plan.
Thank you for coming forward.
You bet.
Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application?
My name is Nicholas Gerhard. I live on Pinewood Court in the Lone Oak subdivision. I am for the rezoning to RS4. I come from an economic value standpoint. From what I have gleaned in reports and talking to people, the 16 homes are set to be valued at between $450,000 and $550,000. So these figures I'm giving you are based on my property taxes for 2019. At that cost, I'll take the midway point, about $525,000, $500,000. The 16 homes at that amount will increase the valuation in the village of Germantown by $8,400,000. One home will generate $8,600 per year in property taxes based on my property taxes. That's $137,600 per year additional property taxes to the village of Germantown. In my last property taxes, 80% of the property taxes went to either the village or the school board. So I see an advantage in building this subdivision under the changing zoning. If you look around, there are houses all over the place. I drive down Donges Bay Road every day going to work, and what I see as I head east on Donges Bay is an eyesore. Parkland, quote unquote, filled with scrub brush and invasive weeds. Something needs to be done to that parcel, and this is a great opportunity. 16 lots fits in, as the first speaker mentioned, fits in with the surrounding subdivisions. I've heard about thinking outside the box, and I've heard about parkland. As trustees, part of your job is to grow Germantown, is to generate development, is to generate value, is to generate property taxes. This fits right in with it. For those who would say we need a park there, at best it's misleading. There already is a park there, Kinderberg Park. What you should be thinking of is it's not a park, it's a bigger park. That's where I come from. So I would just think that with the extra valuation and the property taxes that will be gleaned, and they'll keep going up, so you get more and more regeneration of revenue as the years go by. This is something that I would hope you would, because I agree with. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application? Thanks.
Brian Dupius, West 143, North 9867. I live approximately 3/4 of a mile south of this proposed development. I guess I'll start with somewhat in favor of the proposed rezoning, but I put a little caveat by that. So I have been a resident of Germantown for 17 years, spent 27 years in land use, planning, zoning, development, both sides. About a year ago, I was before this Plan Commission and the Village Board as a consultant, proposing a development ranging in lot sizes from 15,000 square feet up to a half acre. This Plan Commission approved that, Village Board approved it. There were some difficulties, I would say, at the level of enhancing wetlands, which led to about a 2-hour debate at the Village Board meeting, but ultimately we got it approved. Hopefully it does move forward. I have watched from afar this development go from a number of lots down to what we have today. Were previous plans too many? I think it's debatable. But this notion that bigger lot means bigger value, I like to point out, live in a 2,300 square foot home on a 10,000 square foot lot. Assessed value, $305,000. Two of the homes adjacent to this, assessed values, less than $300,000. One of them's a half acre. So bigger doesn't always mean more value. And the thing, I think the reason that I came this evening wasn't because there was reruns on TV and I had nothing better to do. It simply was, looking at this plan, I honestly feel we are wasting land development in this area. There should be a little bit more density. So I hope the Plan Commission once again follows staff recommendation, make a positive recommendation forward, because as the gentleman just indicated, did we lose out on 5 million, 7 million in tax base? Did we just push 8, 10, 14 homes out past Friedenfeld somewhere else where we're going to have to maintain the sewer, the water, the roads? We're promoting urban sprawl by not allowing density in areas that it should be. So once again, I commend the Plan Commission, I commend the staff and the recommendations they've made, and I'm in favor of it. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? You?
My name is Tracy Pollak. I live at N118W15462 Catherine Court. In the interest of full disclosure, I do want to say up front that I am a candidate for seat number 5 for the Germantown School Board. However, I'm here as a concerned and interested citizen this evening. Personally, I am in favor of keeping the property that is under consideration this evening as natural. My preference would be to go back to the 2020 plan, rezone it as park or whatever the proper terms of that would be. In other words, no development. Incorporate that land into Kinderberg and do something for it. Ultimately, I understand the arguments for avoiding urban sprawl, maintaining density. Many of those points make sense, but at the same time, you need to find balance with regards to green space and that density. Personally, I'd clean it up a bit to the individual's point before with regards to how it looks. Yeah, it's not exactly the prettiest thing in the world. Ultimately, with the original plan, that being the school or a park, the school's not going to happen. Obviously, the school district is selling it or attempting to sell it. Let's revert back to that park. I think I'll just leave it at that in the interest of time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward, and thank you for defining your position. Anyone else wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application?
Hi, my name is Mary Hudson, and I'm at 150N10214 Windsong Circle West, so right across the street here. We've lived here for the past 18 years, and I believe Germantown is a great place to live and raise a family. One of the reasons we were attracted to the area was because of all the green space and the many, many parks. Our daughter began her freshman year at Germantown High School. It's a great school. We do have some great schools here as well. And I'm aware of the efforts to, as you all are, to keep the space adjacent to Kinderberg Park as open land, as the A2 agricultural zoning. A little disappointed in the 2020 land use in that it is listed as such. One of the reasons why we chose to move here 18 years ago was to have a lot of that green space surrounding our house. So I guess, in my opinion, I agree that we should keep it as is in the original 2020 Smart Growth Plan. Kinderberg has always been one of our family's favorite places ever since we moved here. My daughter was born here. I remember, when she was not even walking, crawling, anything, pushing her in the stroller around Kinderberg and that surrounding space. Her first swing on the baby swing, and how proud she was of herself when she made it across the monkey bars without falling down. And just the other night we were walking the dog, and she said, can I stop and swing for a while? Now she's 15, and we often have swinging contests even now. Who can outgrow that? So one thing that I brought as a visual aid is she was featured in the Germantown Park and Rec in the splash pad, which I think is awesome. But many, many great memories. Bob Williams' daughter, same age, they were best friends back then. Hours playing in the park. So great memories, and I feel like we should hold and listen to the citizens when they say that they want to uphold the 2020 land swap. So I guess just wanted to let you know that we'd appreciate you keeping the promises that were made to the residents of our community, and just appreciate you listening.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application? Thank you.
My name is Kathleen Duffy, and I live on Cobbler Lane in Germantown. And I am here to speak against the proposal. My reasoning is that I don't think there's enough information currently available as to what will happen to the homes, even though there are only proposed 17 homes in that area. And I speak from experience of having an adult child who recently returned to the state of Wisconsin, to the city of Madison for a job change. And during her home search, she looked in the area of northeastern Madison, which is near the Sun Prairie area and the Cottage Grove area. That area is very inundated with Viridian home projects. I have not seen a picture of a proposed home that they think they're going to put on this land. Having seen the homes that have previously been built in the Sun Prairie area, they are much like, it's a cookie cutter home. It's on a very small lot. It's basically one large room on the first floor. All of the bedrooms are upstairs. They also have a tendency of wanting to put garages not in the front of their homes, but in the backs of their homes, which means that people have alleys. And in some instances, those alleys are shared. The other thing that they do is that they tend to build near park areas so that they do not have to provide enough lawn space for the people who are in those homes. The homes are not lived in for a long period of time. There's a very large turnover in those homes. They are built for young two-family working homes. And what happens is that some of the homes are turned over due to job changes, but the majority of homes are turned over because the families that live in them are fine when they have their first child. But when they have their second child, those homes are no longer of use to them. And so they then sell their home and they move on. And I guess I wish that the Planning Commission had found out a little more information about the types of uses in the homes that were going to be built there before they decided to just turn it over to them. Because I think if you do some research and you do some traveling within the state, you'll be able to find out additional information. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application? Is there anyone else that would like to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Thank you.
Good evening, Village Board President and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Lily Bathyal, and I live in Winsong Circle, and I've been here for 24 years. The other day, as I was coming home from work, I was thinking about some of my fellow Germantown residents who live a few miles north of me. I thought how great it is that they have someone in this commission to speak on their behalf, someone who speaks of their desire to maintain 5 acres of breathing space between residential lots. I wonder who amongst this body tonight will speak on behalf of approximately 300 village residents who signed a petition to keep the land adjacent to Kinderbird undeveloped for continued public enjoyment. I wonder who will stand up for this vision of smart growth. I hope someone will. I sincerely hope tonight that each of you will reach deep within you and stand up with me for the future of the village, for the future of not just more rooftops as a sign of progress, but for striking a sound balance between development and conserving a magnificent piece of natural landscape for public enjoyment. Because here in Germantown, our values are deep-rooted and our visions long-term. Because here in Germantown, quality of life is not just a mirage, but a held value. Because in Germantown, We have a vision that extends far beyond the 16 homes in exchange for a measly $150,000 for 15 acres of prime public land. Because here in Germantown, we forge our own destiny. We shape our own distinct blueprint, one that defines us and announces to everyone that we are uniquely Germantown. A blueprint that creates the way for an unparalleled place to live, to play, and enjoy an exceptional way of life. A blueprint that shall include keeping the public Kinderberg land open for public enjoyment. I am hopeful tonight that you will share that vision, along with 300 residents who signed that petition a year ago now, that enables the village to continue to be a place which exemplifies quality of life, a place that upholds the balance between growth and employing our valuable resource with greater care. With that, I respectfully ask that the proposal in front of you for rezoning be denied. Please keep the land as intended in the 2020 plan for public recreation. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else at this time that would like to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application?
My name is Terry Cheddar, West 147, North 10451, Wilson Drive. President Walter, Trustee Baum, members of the Plan Commission, village planning staff, and members of the community. I've participated in many discussions this past year and a half regarding the proposed development on the land directly behind what I call home. Within those discussions, it has been talked about what Germantown is and what it should be in the future. The underlying core of these discussions have been that Germantown was developed to provide its current and future residents the feeling of a rural community and future developments keeping this same vision. For the past several months, the Plan Commission has been discussing on how to develop the northern section of the village and how to maintain its rural feeling. Shouldn't that also be considered on the land directly south of Kinderberg Park, as it is one of the few spaces that we have left in the southeastern quadrant of the village that has been undeveloped, or that hasn't been developed? There's been much said tonight, and I don't really think I have too much more to add, but I do support the previous speaker's viewpoints. Once developed, we have lost this open space for a lifetime. Viridian submitted a preliminary plat design containing 16 homes for their zoning request. Is this preliminary plat design tied directly to the zoning request? As I understand it, at a later phase in the development process, there'll be a final plat design that is submitted for approval. How different can that final plat design be from the preliminary?
Not that much. It's a strict RS4, so it has to meet the RS4 criteria.
Right, but as long as it could go from the 16 lots up to, if they decide that they don't need as much of the watershed, it could go up to 20 or something like that. I mean,
Straight RS4 pretty much limits what's available within that property. You could change slightly the curvature of the road. You could change some of the land in regards to how it's broken out in shape in each of those lots. But what you're seeing is that conceptual plan, number of lots and how they're laid out to the road. It'll be pretty accurate to what you see here. The final plat may be slightly different in frontage and such, but I don't think they're going to get 2 more lots out of it.
thank you. If you choose to move this plan forward to the village board, I would request you consider adding an additional condition to the recommendation. A condition to be consistent with the other borders of the development to provide a landscape buffer on the east side of the property, as the existing tree line is filled with an abundance of invasive overgrown buckthorn. I would ask that you add a condition to maintain the existing buffer, removing the buckthorn and replacing with a more native landscape species. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application? Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application?
Good evening. My name is Sandy Dobregowski, and I live at North 105, West 14709 Wilson Drive in Germantown. We have a lot of great statistics here tonight. My comments are strictly emotional, but would hope they would be considered at the same level. We've been in Heritage Hills for approximately 20 years. And as I've been to every meeting here, my thought is, if this number of citizens are so consistently and vehemently against this project, why would the Planning Commission continue to push forward? Also, why would Viridian Homes want their name associated with this project, knowing that there is so much disdain among the neighbors that they will never be looked at in a positive fashion? I've never seen so many citizens attend so many meetings for or against any project other than when we were talking about the skate land in Kinderberg many years ago. I don't believe Viridian will ever be looked at as a partner of this community, but rather as an invasive species. Thank you.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Anyone wishing to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Yes, sir.
Hello, my name's Steve Green, and I live on Main Street, North 116, West 16033 Main Street. I figured somebody else had to come up and that was for this. As the last lady was saying, so many people against it. Most people that are for things don't speak up. They're not going to come in and waste their time. It's people that are against something that are usually going to come in and speak. But besides the tax money that will be generated, the last person said, we have to also take in that there's going to be 16 houses built that would probably generate $4 million worth of products to build those houses. I mean, and really this property is coming from the school board, not from parks anyway. So, I mean, they should be glad that it's not a school with 40 buses coming in and out of there, that there's going to be 16 houses now instead. I mean, everybody keeps talking like it's park property, but it's not. It's school property. So it could have been a school, and it could have caused a load of traffic jams with the buses every single day and 1,000 kids walking past their houses throwing trash on their lawns. So I'm for it.
Thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application?
Hi, I'm sorry I didn't fill out a yellow form. I wasn't expecting to speak, and I'll
Just
be brief.
state your name and your address
My
for the
name is
record.
Lois Libby, and I live on Bayberry Circle. As I said, I wasn't prepared to speak, but there's so much passion here tonight. I can't just sit in my seat and say nothing. My husband Ralph and I moved here about 12 years ago from Massachusetts. We've lived in Massachusetts, New York, another part of Wisconsin, Upper Michigan, the Memphis area, and now here. We left beautiful jobs, a beautiful home, to come here because of the people of Wisconsin. Literally, when we were in the Upper Peninsula, our children ended up in here for college, so we would come to visit. And every time when we were coming to visit, we would say, wouldn't it be great to live here after all of those places we lived? Because of the people. When you're just coming here for a weekend, you don't get to experience a whole lot of things. You come here to visit your family. And when I heard about this, I tried to absorb as much as I could because I wanted to always see both sides. When you live in very many places, you see that there's always two sides to everything. It's not all about the money. It's not all about who wants or who doesn't, because both sides are important. But what I see is first of all, one person mentioned, why was it 700 and something thousand dollars and then it's 150? I may not be accurate on the exact numbers. Are we beginning something for 16 houses with this many people that would be that upset? Is it worth it? This many people. And for this many people, there's probably way many more. Because what you said, for every one person that complains, 10 people wanted to but didn't go to that meeting or didn't write a letter. I don't think that 16 houses is worth upsetting that many voting people. And any amount of $1 million isn't worth it to me, because when I die, I'm not going to think about the money in my pocket. I'm going to think about my neighbors that I saw. And don't look at me like that, because I didn't look at you like that when you spoke. That's all I'm saying is we're
not going to discard a debate
That's all I
between the
have to
audience
say.
members.
I don't think it's worth. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Sir?
My name's Ralph Libby, and I live at the same address as the previous speaker. I'm going to be very brief. I can remember as a kid growing up in northern New York, my dad had a friend who, it's quite rural up there. He had a friend who bought a 100-acre lot, because my father, in conversation with him, asked him, why would you ever buy 100 acres? And he said, because they're just not making any more as far as land goes. They're just not making any more land. So why should we give it away to more housing? That's it.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else wishing to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application?
Christie Walt, West 148, North 10024 Rimrock Road. So I'm in Winsong, just to the south. I don't like it. We didn't build a school there because we couldn't vote to pass for a school there. I understand it's school land or parkland based on the planning. I think it should be parkland.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else wishing to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application?
W156N10304 Pilgrim Road. Make it brief too, I was prepared to talk. My wife and I chose to move to Germantown and in this location to raise a family and have a nice place for our kids to grow up. We use Kinderberg Park as often as we can. We just slid down the hills a few days ago. Go to the splash pad, whatnot. We have a lot of great friends, including Tracy, he spoke earlier. It's kind of our meeting place for the families to meet, picnics, whatnot. It's a great place to go. We could walk there. I would like to see that stay as a park or green space. I think we can maybe get some more use out of it, maybe cut some trails in there, have maybe little activities for kids. Granted, they have the play sets and stuff, but maybe like a little nature scene with activities and fun facts and stuff like that. Maybe incorporate the wetland, plants and animals and other stuff there. But we don't need any more houses. We moved to this community because it was a nice small community. If I wanted big cities, I'd live in a big city. I'd go to New York. So let's keep it green. All right.
Thank you for coming forward. Anyone else wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application? Is there anyone else that would like to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Sir?
I think my name is George Liberatore, North 101, West 16325 Santa Fe Drive. And in full disclosure, my daughter is running for school board as well this year. My question, I guess I have more questions than anything for the board. All of the things have been taken into consideration, I'm sure, as far as traffic patterns are concerned, increased traffic on our roads. All that's been considered with this?
Yes, in regards to 16 lots, yes.
Okay, that. And when it was brought up about the school system profiting from this and new houses is going to mean more students. It's not going to lower the burden on that school system. It's probably going to increase it. And I guess the other question I have is, if this went from $700,000 and our school board owned it, and now it's at $150,000, why did it go down so far, and why are they willing to accept that deal?
We don't have that answer, sir, because we're not the property owner.
Okay, thank you.
I wish I could provide that to you, but I do not have that information, nor do I know if that information is accurate in any way, because we would not see a bill of sale nor be privy to that information. But thank you for coming forward. Is there anyone else that wishes to come forward at this time to speak for or against the rezoning application? Anyone else? One last time. Sir?
Good evening, Matt Cudney, Viridian Homes. When we were at the last...
Matt Cudney from Viridian Homes.
Sorry, when we were at the last village board meeting, many members of the village board indicated that they wanted to see RS4 zoning on this particular property. So that's what we did. If you look at the comprehensive plan, low-density residential allows up to a gross density to 2.0 units per acre. The plan before you has 1.09 units per acre, or about half of the maximum that would be allowable under the low density. In addition, the average lot size on the comprehensive plan for low density, the average lot size is 20,000 square feet. And the average lot size that you are seeing on this proposed plan is 27,000 square feet, which is about 83% more than what the minimum or what the average is under the comprehensive plan. But taking it a step further, if you go to the RS4 zoning classification itself, the net dwelling units per acre is 2.2 as a maximum. We are providing 1.21, which is significantly less than that. And the minimum lot size there is 20,000, as we said, and this is 27,000. So let's talk about open space. Everyone's been talking about open space as well. 23.5% of this property is open space. Now, we've heard people from different neighborhoods that have been here, from Winsong, from Preserve, from Heritage Hills, probably not from Sunbury, but El Sunbury. If you look at it, none of them have 23.5% open space. None of them have 27,000 square feet as their average lot size. So this really does fit into the fabric of the neighborhood as the village board had requested. So I urge the Plan Commission to approve this plan as they've approved previous plans. And I think this will be a very, very nice addition to the village of Germantown.
Could we get your address too, please?
Sure. I'll give you a card.
No, we don't have to tell her.
But he's not a resident of Germantown, he's actually the developer. He has a right to speak at this public hearing, as anyone else does, ma'am. Okay. Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak for or against the rezoning application? Anyone else? Speak for or against the rezoning application? Last time. Anyone else wishing to come forward to speak for or against this rezoning application? This public hearing is now closed. That would then take us to still new business item A and the action upon Viridian Homes LLC, agent for Germantown School District property owner, which is located at North 104, West 14942, Donges Bay Road. It's a rezoning application from A2 agricultural to RS4 single-family residential zoning district for a 16-lot residential development.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed rezoning of 14.7 acres for 16-lot subdivision as presented with the 5 conditions.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Discussion. Trustee Baum.
My understanding, Director Retzloff, we cannot talk about parkland.
No, we cannot.
We cannot talk about it.
No,
So-
we cannot. In this board,
Yeah.
and I caution this board
Yeah.
that what is before it and what it is for consideration is the RS zoning application and the change of the zoning from agricultural to residential in this area. It is not the consideration of can it be, should it be, or will it be parkland, because that is not part of this discussion. As this commission's purpose is to look at what the proposal is and see how it fits within the fabric of the area. Does it meet the conditions of the zoning as proposed, and does it meet the conditions of the surrounding neighborhood or within the fabric of the surrounding neighborhood? We've heard many statements in regards to what we would like it to be or what other residents would like it to become or stay. This is not a consideration for this body. It is purely a zoning consideration.
So the other part is a lot of people talked about being opposed to it. But we're not talking about whether we're opposed to it or not. We are talking about whether it fits in with the neighborhood. And this finally being brought forward as an RS4, which I had fought for everybody to get it to an RS4, is now here as an RS4. So I will support this, like I did last time, as an RS4.
Further discussion? Mr. Shadid.
On Director Retzloff, on your your third here of recommendations, I did listen to one commenter talk about the east property line buffer. When the detailed landscaping buffer plan is shown, could we be sure that it was clear of like objectionable plants? I mean, there should be a landscaping plan that was reasonable, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. I would tend to agree that we don't want junk plants and things like that in there. I don't know enough about landscaping to describe it correctly, but if it's full of buckthorn and things like that, probably should be looked at.
Does number 3 require them to remove invasive?
Number 3 doesn't require them to remove the tree line. The tree line lies within an area that's outside of the building envelope on the lot.
Okay.
So it's anticipated that the majority of the trees in the tree line would be preserved. We've had that discussion with Matt Cudney going back over a year when the original proposal was discussed, and the notion was to preserve to the extent possible that eastern existing tree line as a buffer. If the Planning Commission so desires to add additional language to the condition that addresses your specific concern about that, you can certainly do that.
I actually don't know what the objection is. I just wanted it covered that we at least would provide for a decent buffer there.
I think that's kind of stated in 1, and then also, well, actually in 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a desire that there should be some supplemental plantings, you may want to recommend that.
What is actually there now? Maybe that would help. Is this trees?
Scrub.
What we'll get at the time of the preliminary plat, there's a tree plan that's required.
So we'd have a chance to look at that then.
You'll get to see, yeah.
Okay, I'd be satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Can I ask Terry, what you own one of these properties? What's in your backyard? Scrub brush?
It's really laden with buckthorn.
Yeah, but and some of it's on your property? So if we have them get rid of it on their property?
It's all on the
east?
On the school board's property.
Okay. None of the seeds fell on your land. I got them all over my yard.
He's been taking care of it.
Oh, okay.
I guess I hadn't thought about us looking at the final plot, so if that's what we're going to do, we can cover that then. No objection.
Further discussion? Mr. Leshevsky.
One question on the end of the cul-de-sac, Planner Retzloff. What happens to that in the winter? Does that get plowed by the village or the property owners? So if you need emergency access, and you got 2.5 feet of snow on the ground, can you still get through?
Well, that's something we'll have to address in the development agreement. If in fact the fire department feels that it can be designed and supported as an emergency access, then we'll address the probably the homeowners association requirement to keep it open and accessible to emergency vehicles.
Further discussion? Kimler.
I had another question about that path that's going to act as an emergency access easement as well. Is there any restrictions about how close you can, build to that and also plant trees? I would assume it probably wouldn't be used very often, but if you plant a bunch of trees or someone puts a shed there, all of a sudden a fire truck tries to come down there in an emergency situation, will the trees be overgrowing the path? Will you be able to get equipment through in the future if there's nothing restricting where things are placed?
Yes, there will be setbacks that apply. In fact, the condition specifies that the emergency access path between lots 10 and 11 should be constructed within an outlot as opposed to it being an easement. What that'll do is that'll reestablish the property lines at the perimeter of that outlot, and then the building setbacks will be measured from there as opposed to the center of the easement. So there'll be adequate setback that'll address the construction of any buildings or even the dwelling that might impede the use of that. Also, the staff is recommending a 15 to 20 foot wide outlot, but requiring that the fire department weigh in on the design and the layout of that so it can be meet their minimum requirements for accessibility. So that'll be addressed and fine-tuned through the preliminary plat and the construction plan stage.
Okay, thanks.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? The only thing that I would like to add is, first and foremost, I'd like to appreciate and thank everybody that came forward and came to this meeting. Many of you have been to all the meetings, and I appreciate that you've spent the time with us. You've expressed your opinions, you've expressed your needs and some of your comments and concerns of this project. I appreciate that very much. It is this board, the village board, does not run on its own accord. It runs as servants to the residents. Just so everybody understands, this commission's duty is to look at the zoning as it's proposed or the zoning change and see if it fits the criteria of an RS4 and within the fabric of the area that it's being proposed within. And then we make a recommendation to the village board to vote for that zoning change. I would propose to each and every one of you to contact your trustees and make sure that they know your concerns and your wants as well, because this will be before the village board on next week, and it will also have a public hearing?
No, the public hearing is before the Plan Commission. The opportunity to speak would be at the front of the village board meeting under the appearance public comment section.
Right. So everybody understands that this is the public hearing as it is today? Can you come to the microphone and ask your question so that those that are watching in the audience can also hear it, please?
Yes, again, it's Mary Hudson, and I was told the meeting for the board to come together was April 6th. Is that incorrect?
That is not correct. We are looking to schedule it March 16th.
Yeah, next
And the reason for that is the April 6th meeting is before the election, and it would, usually the village clerk has a fair amount of work to do before that. Sometimes we would cancel that meeting if there is not a heavy agenda so that she's able to prepare for the actual election day, which will be April 7th. But we are going to schedule, or looking to schedule it since it's going through this body today at the the March 16th village board meeting for them to consider and to vote upon for the zoning change.
All right. Yeah, we just noticed the signs that are posted now with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And when I looked it up, I mean, that's what it said. It was April 6th. So I'm wondering if the public is aware of that.
We haven't published a village board date.
Okay. So it will be March 16th?
That's correct.
Next Monday.
That would be next Monday, yes. So again, if you make sure you contact your trustees and make sure they are aware of your concerns and of your comments as well. And there will be time before the vote on this particular item in the agenda item of public input and public appearance, similar to what we have on this agenda at the village board meeting, to allow comments and commentary on this particular item. Any other discussion? Trustee?
Where do we stand on supermajority with this? We had that petition. Is that in place still? Refresh me on that.
No, the protest petition was specifically against the previous proposal, and we have not received a new protest petition concerning the RS4 rezoning proposal. As far as where we stand, you know, we did make a change to the voting requirement, if you will, to the protest petition section of the zoning code last fall. If a valid protest petition is filed and then adequate numbers of adjacent property owners or opposite the street from the property file an objection, then it would require a 3/4 vote of the village board members present at the meeting when action is taken. Previously, it was 3/4 of the full village board, regardless of how many or who attended.
Thanks.
Further discussion? No further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Again, this is a recommendation. That does not mean it's approved. It goes before the village board for final approval, and that will be at the March 16th meeting. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for taking the time to present your comments and your concerns. We'll take a 2-minute recess to allow those that want to leave can. So 2 minutes, please. Please turn off your microphones. All right. We're on new business items, and we're going to new business item B, which is Stephen and Elizabeth Green, located at North 116, West 16033, and North 116, West 16011 Main Street, a certified survey map combination. To give us more background and information on this, I'll turn our meeting over to our Community Development Director, Jeff Retzlaff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Plan Commission is familiar with the Steve and Elizabeth Green property on Main Street. For the last couple of months, we've been discussing a zoning permit application that was ultimately approved by the Plan Commission with some conditions that dealt with a proposed certified survey map that has now been submitted for your review. The Greens own two parcels on Main Street, a 0.41 acre lot that's vacant and a 0.43 acre lot that contains their existing dwelling, a detached storage building, and soon the attached garage and a second detached accessory building. As shown on the existing lot layout, there is a 10-foot wide access easement across Lot 2 that contains the dwelling for the benefit of Lot 1. The Greens, again, own both parcels and are combining them into one, and as such, the easement is no longer necessary. And also, you recall, as part of the zoning permit approval, there were a couple of conditions that addressed the CSM. The first, that the Greens are strongly encouraged to negotiate a shared driveway easement agreement with the adjacent property owner to clearly establish mutually acceptable terms for the use, improvement, and maintenance of the existing shared driveway that straddles their common property line. As we discussed last month, a driveway agreement has been prepared by the Greens, submitted to the adjacent property owner, the Kaiser, and it has not been finalized yet, but it is being reviewed by the respective parties. And my guess is that an agreement will be reached because it benefits both property owners equally. The second condition had to do with the certified survey map filing, that it should be submitted to the village for review no later than April 1st and include an access restriction prohibiting driveway access along Main Street in the vicinity of the existing parking stalls on Main Street. And as you'll see on the proposed CSM, it does do that. My graphic doesn't show the restriction, unfortunately, but the CSM in your packet does. There's an access restriction along the north part of Main Street. Again, the CSM combines the two lots, eliminates the access easement, provides the access restriction to protect the existing parking stalls, and there's a shared driveway easement agreement underway. With that, the staff recommendation is to approve the proposed two-lot CSM, the lot combination for the Green property as proposed.
I make a motion to approve the two-lot certified survey map for Mr. and Mrs. Green as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion to approve? No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Not opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Green, thank you for coming. Thank you for speaking earlier, and also thank you for going through this process and for your accommodations throughout. Next item under new business is item C, Reinhold Sign Service, agent for North Shore Bank, property owner, located at North 112, West 15780, Mequon Road, a sign review application. Give us some more information on this new business item C. I'll turn the meeting over to Emily Zant, our associate planner.
Thank you. So Reinhold Signs, agent for North Shore Bank, is proposing 2 wall signs and 2 sets of directional signs for the North Shore Bank property, which is located on Mequon Road, just south of the Sendix and east of McDonald's. So the proposed wall signs include an 84-inch by 68-inch or 40 square foot rectangular internally illuminated sign made with acrylic and aluminum. This sign will be placed on the south facade of the building. There's also a 20-square-foot backlit letter set that says North Shore Bank, made with acrylic and aluminum. This sign is proposed to be located on the west facade of the building. Village code does limit wall signage to the building frontage unless deemed appropriate by the Plan Commission. In this case, the Plan Commission will have to approve the wall signage on the west facade of the building. Staff does support putting signage here as it is visible to eastbound traffic on Mequon Road. There will also be two 6-square-foot, 42-inch in height rectangular aluminum signs providing directional signage for the drive-up ATM and parking. It will be located to the northwest of the building. Then a 4.5-square-foot, 42-inch in height rectangular aluminum sign providing directional signage designating as exit only. The sign would be located on the northeast side of the building. So with that, staff recommends approval of the 2 proposed wall signs and the 2 proposed directional signs for the bank with a condition requiring electrical permits to be obtained prior to any installation taking place.
I'll make a motion to approve the signs as presented for North Shore Bank.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Next item under new business is item D, Signorama agent for Grand Appliance and Anderson Brothers Construction, property owner located at West 188 North 10707 Maple Road, a sign review application. More information on this, we'll turn it back over to our associate planner, Emily Zan.
Okay, thank you. Danco Signs, doing business as Signorama, the agent for the Anderson Brothers, is requesting approval of a wall signage for Grand Appliance, who's the new commercial tenant in their building on Maple Road. This property is located northeast on the east side of Interstate 4145 and west of Maple Road and south of Lannon Road. It's zoned B1 neighborhood business. The proposal is for an 88-square-foot internally illuminated sign made with red acrylic faces and aluminum returns and backs. The sign will be placed on the front elevation of the building, facing southwest, directly above the entrance. The maximum square footage for the signage on the face of this building is 90 square feet, and the proposed wall sign does meet the village's sign requirements. So with that, staff recommends approval for the wall sign for Grand Appliance with the condition that electrical permits shall be obtained before the installation of any electrical components.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed wall sign for Grand Appliance with the one condition as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve? No discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? None opposed. Motion carries. Last item under new business is item E, Community Development Department results from the 2019 Village Community Survey. It's my understanding that because Trustee Baum is not up to 100%, he will be leaving us for this last new business item, and we appreciate you making it this far.
Thank you.
So to give us more information on this and initiate some discussion, again, meeting will be turned over to Associate Planner Zan.
Thank you. So included in your packets is a copy of the draft analysis that planning staff has completed based on the data collected from the 2019 community-wide survey results. We would just want to take some time to walk you through the summary of results, knowing that it's a draft and that we want to work with you to identify any questions you have or suggestions for improvements or additions to the summary document. Also included in the electronic packet was a PDF of the raw numbers that we downloaded from SurveyMonkey, so you have access to those. These numbers do not include any open-ended question responses, but that information can be made available to you at any time and will be included in the appendix of the 2050 Comprehensive Plan. So this survey was open for responses between September 9th, 2019 and November 1st, 2019. There are a total of 1,819 survey respondents. This is more or less about 10% of the population over the age of 18 in the village of Germantown. So as with most surveys, not every respondent answered every question. So we did take a look at the number of respondents for each question and calculated an average. We found that 1,633 responses per question was average. So I will preface these results by saying that many people will be interested to know whether or not these results are statistically significant or if these results represent the population of Germantown as a whole. However, because we didn't have a technically random sample of respondents, we can't say that these responses represent the residents of Germantown as a whole. What we can say is that approximately 10% of the population over 18 in Germantown did provide responses to our survey questions, and these results are representative of those individuals. It doesn't make the survey information useless. We just have to take that into consideration when we're looking at the results. So as we go through, we will talk through some of the areas that we can assume there's some demographic differences between the respondents and the actual population as a whole. Looking at the age of respondents, we can see a fairly even distribution of respondents in the last 4 age groups, right around 21 to 23%. If we compare this information with the 2017 American Community Survey 5-year estimates, we will see that we have low representation from those in the 25 to 35 age range. We can also say that we have little to no representation of those individuals under 18, but that makes sense for a future land use survey like this. There's also low representation of those between 45 and 54 years of age. But a greater percentage of respondents in the 35 to 44 age range. Nearly 40% of respondents indicated that they have lived, worked, or owned property in the village for 20 or more years. Just 4% of respondents have lived, worked, or owned property in the village for 1 year or less. The next graphic looks at where the respondents live, work, or own property in the village. Nearly 58% of the respondents do live within Zone 5, or that green area on the screen, the south central area of the village. This makes sense as this is kind of the residential core of the village. The central area, Zone 4, or in orange there, was the other most represented zone in the village with 18% of the respondents. 88% of respondents reported living in a single-family dwelling, 2.4 in a two-family, and 5.9 in a multifamily dwelling. Over 4% of respondents did select other. With that being said, I would say about 90% of the written answers were condo or gables. So we can pretty safely assume that these are multifamily structures, but we did designate it as other here. Let's see, based on the 2013 to 2017 ACS 5-year estimates, the percentage of units in structures with at least 2 units is about 24% of the total number of units within Germantown. The percentage of respondents reporting living in 2+ unit structures was lower than that estimate indicates. So we should take that into consideration when looking at who was represented in the survey. The graph on the right-hand side of the screen looks at the number of respondents living in two-family and multifamily dwelling units by age. Some may assume that as a population ages, the lower percentage of the population would live in multifamily housing. However, we can see that after the age of 45, a rising number of respondents to the survey indicate living in multifamily housing. So it shows the largest portion of the respondents between the age of 25 and 34 living in multifamily units, but then a fairly significant increase between 35 and 44, and then a slow but steady increase as the respondents age. 44% of respondents indicated that they have children under 18 living in their household. This is higher than the 2017 American Community Survey 5-year estimates indicate, which is, they indicate 34% of our 7,898 households having children under 18 living in the house. 19% of respondents, or about 2 out of 10 respondents, reported working in Germantown. That means that 8 out of 10 employed individuals leave Germantown every day to go to work. This is fairly consistent with the 2017 American Community Survey estimate, which reported 18% of residents working in Germantown. Survey respondents indicated that the 3 most important factors on the quality of life were public services, police and fire, low crime, and good neighbors. On the flip side, respondents of the survey indicated that the least important factors were diversity of age, diversity of race, and mix of uses. When asked to rate the quality of life in Germantown, over 83% chose good or excellent. The greatest number of respondents indicated that the quality of life over their time in the village of Germantown has stayed the same, closely followed by somewhat improved. Now, these measures are subjective, as we have discussed in previous meetings, and we didn't include a definition in our survey of what quality of life means, or what excellent or fair or poor meant. But in general, the perception of the quality of life in Germantown is very positive. These are the results from the 2015 community survey. We did see a slight decline from the results of 2015. There was about a 5% decrease in the percentage of people that indicated good or excellent, and that 5% increase went into those that selected, and a 5% increase in those that selected somewhat declined. Note that we did not necessarily survey the exact same people, and this is a very subjective question. So I think the main takeaway from this question and the 2019 results is that very few respondents indicated the quality of life in the village is fair or poor. And again, 83% of respondents see the quality of life in the village as good or excellent. We asked several questions about what types of development are proposed in the village, are supported in the village, both in certain areas and across the village as a whole. And there's a lot of data there. We did just choose to highlight a few numbers that we found to be particularly representative of the responses. So in terms of single-family detached homes, 75% of respondents agreed and supported encouraging single-family detached homes to be developed. Multifamily condominiums, 45% of respondents age 65 years and older agree that multifamily condominiums should be developed. I will just jump over to the other side. Manufactured homes, 65% of respondents disagree that additional manufactured homes should be developed. Looking at types of subdivisions, 47% of respondents believe that more conservation subdivisions should be encouraged to develop, where 10% of respondents believe that only conventional subdivisions should be encouraged to develop. I will note that nearly 28% of respondents did support both conventional and conservation subdivisions. Yep.
Emily, I don't remember when I took this, but was there like a definition or a picture like we had for the plan, 20 in there, so that you knew the difference?
There was, yes. I will also add that the survey responses showed a strong preference for owned or condominium multifamily housing rather than tenant or rental multifamily housing. This question is, what type of land uses should be allowed in the undeveloped rural areas outside of the urban service area? As you know, the urban service area is that area served by village sewer and water. So 66% of respondents agreed that hobby farms should be allowed to develop outside of the urban service area. And 71% disagree that multifamily residential development should be developed outside this urban service area, which makes sense. Respondents did show strong support for additional sit-down and family restaurants in the village, as well as additional entertainment and attractions. So this question asked where the most appropriate location for multifamily development would be in the village. We see the strongest support by respondents for development near the I-41-45 corridor. And then also I'll point out that nearly 30% of respondents supported multifamily housing anywhere served by village sewer and water. So we did look at how these results were influenced by where a respondent lived in the village. So I will just point out people that lived in the northwest portion of the village really supported more development of multifamily housing near Main Street and along Mequon Road. The northeast portion of the village really supported near I-41-45, and let's see, 52% of respondents in the zone 6, or the pink zone, in the southeast corner of the village, did support additional multifamily housing near the I-41-45 corridor. So you can see that it's pretty interesting how the different, where the different priorities lie in the different areas of the village. So we also asked a question about respondents' attitude towards future rural development. This question included 3 statements. The most supported statement was about allowing development as long as it preserves rural character. Then there was slightly less support for protecting all existing undeveloped farm and other agricultural land from future development. And finally, the least supported statement was allowing development as the property owner chooses. Again, we wanted to look at how attitudes changed based on where respondents lived in the village. Grouping zones into, what we did here is group zones into more rural and more suburban zones. So zones 1, 2, and 3 we considered to be more rural than zones 4, 5, and 6. And so we grouped those together and looked at the percentage of respondents that strongly support each of these items. I will point out that 41% of respondents in rural areas support the idea that all existing undeveloped farm and other agricultural land should be protected from future development, whereas only 22% of the suburban area respondents indicated that. The other 2 are closer, but you can see the differences based on the zones of the respondents. So the Germantown Gateway has been, of course, a hot topic recently with all the with the extension of water and sewer in the past couple of years and the light industrial construction taking place. We did ask a question about which types of development would be supported in that area. Sit-down and family restaurants, specialty retail and boutiques, large lot, single-family residential, and grocery stores were all the most supported types of development. And the least supported were multifamily residential, big box retail, independent and assisted senior housing, and offices and banks and financial institutions. Looking at, we asked a couple questions about the Village Recycling Center. And you can see the largest percentage of respondents either did not know about the recycling center or did not use it within the past year. And then it falls from there in terms of the number of uses. 58% of respondents would prefer the Village Recycling Center be relocated within Germantown if the existing operation need to be modified in the future. And 40% of respondents would prefer the Village Recycling Center be eliminated and an alternative recycling service be provided if some modification to the existing facility needed to happen in the future. I will just note that the support to keep the recycling center within the village did increase as the number of uses per year increased, which makes sense. And then additionally, there's a positive correlation between the number of years a resident has lived in the village and the number of trips annually to the recycling center. So with that, I'll finish up. I will add that we will discuss this further at an upcoming meeting. Looking at, we'll look at the results in more detail with a representative from GRAFE. So if you have any questions for now, or if Jeff has anything to add, that would be great.
Yeah, I think that this is a good summary of what we've found as a result of the survey, but we will be discussing it in more detail with a consultant to flesh out how we want to use this information in the plan and how best to present it in the various elements or sections of the plan as well. As Emily pointed out, we're going to be putting together a report that will be essentially, this is the basis for the full report that will include this sort of summary, also the raw data with the responses and the percentages, and then also will include as an attachment to that the open-ended question answers that we received, and we received a lot of them, and they fill up a lot of pages. But those are interesting things that should be looked at, and I would encourage you to, between now and our next meeting, which is in a couple of weeks with the consultant, take a look at that information. Did we include that in the digital copy?
Not the open-ended responses, because there were 114 pages.
Okay.
But we can email that out.
Yeah, we'll send that out to you in the next day or so you can take a look at some of those open-ended questions and see how often people comment about, similar things. And for example, you might be surprised at how often there's still people calling for a community pool, a swimming pool.
Don't we have one? At the high school?
Yes.
Yes.
There is a swimming pool at the high school.
More
yes.
people should know about that.
Yeah,
somehow have
you
access to it.
Exactly. So, so unless you have any specific questions about what we discussed this evening, we'll leave it at that.
And a question I have is this, right now it says draft, so when is the plan to put it or present it to the website?
Probably after we talk to the consultant, because there may be some other questions that they want us to take a closer look at with some cross-tabulation that might be helpful to their effort supporting us on the overall plan.
And it would look like in this format, right?
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah, I
think this is a good format.
It is very good. Did you do this on?
Yeah, this is all Emily's work.
I like it. It's great. I like the visual and then the information that supports it. But I think the visual really helps to bring it out and make it better understood. So thank you. Looks good.
So probably within the next month or so, we'll have a final report or a final draft report. We haven't decided how we're going to include it in the overall comprehensive plan, if it'll be a freestanding document or as an appendix, likely to be an appendix. But ultimately, we don't want to have a plan document that's 114 pages of just open-ended response questions as an attachment.
No. Mr. Leshewski.
One comment, kind of an incongruity is like, where do you want multifamily? It seems like it's over on the other side of the village. Well, maybe along 41, 45, but then we look at the Gateway Industrial Park, which would be a good place for large-scale we don't want it there either. It's kind of like, I don't know if anybody really wants it.
Right. Well, if you look at the breakdown with the where do people live and what their reaction is to the multifamily, you almost get a sense that it's essentially a not in my backyard response.
Yeah, it's on the other side of the village.
Yeah. The people in the northwest quadrant nearest to 41 say it should be on Main Street along Mequon Road, and the people down in that area, Zone 5, say it should be near I-41 and 45.
Any other questions about the survey results? And just for the record, the pool comment was a joke. It was not meant to be serious. I think everybody should know that there's a pool at the high school.
Oh, absolutely.
After the last referendum. So, just for the record, Tom. Anything else? Any other questions? There's no other questions. That takes care of this new business item. Does anyone have any announcements they'd like to make?
Yes, we will be having a special meeting in a couple of weeks with the consultant again to discuss the survey in a little bit more detail and also get back to discussion about the future land use plan map and our neighborhood corridor district concept.
That be scheduled for the fourth Monday?
Yes.
Okay, and it is an open meeting. There has been residents that have joined us and supported and joined in that discussion. So those that are willing to get involved, you're welcome to come to those meetings as well. And we appreciate those that have participated in the past. Any other announcements? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you all for watching. Have a good night.